successfully make their stake on height. Trulex and Chicho box on the low ground directly underneath them. And if these Titans clash, one or the other could potentially fold.
Well, here's the thing, Thomas HD and Queasy are two of the, again, only players left in this lobby that will notably challenge height every single time. Most of the competition that would otherwise do that is not in this lobby. I do anticipate a runaway scenario here. However, Brazil, King and Phaser hopping across, yet not even close enough to challenge up for high ground. So
King and Phaser, because the way that Thomas HD and Queasy have been spraying at other teams, you've got the indication that they likely have an assault rifle, so it's a lot more difficult to make those jumps from the high ground off the Flowberry Fizz, heading towards front side of the next zone. But Sphinx, Dukes, we saw them shut down our first place team on the leaderboard already here today. They're hoping to see if they can transition this into a victory royale of their own.
Sphinx and Dukes through Elims. Hard eyes on the prize right now as Reese trying to slip his way from the storm line into the safety, but unfortunately is going to fall there in 19th place now. Very well within the top 20 here, as there's a lot of placement points to be earned. This is a 1.5x multiplier for everyone tuning in right now. These games have significantly more weight than yesterday's round. If there's a day you want to perform, it is here and it is now. Queasy and Thomas still working their way. Look at this build. They are willing to commit heavy material, heavy resources to hold high ground.
And what's one of the most impressive aspects of Thomas HD and Queasy's run is that they've been doing all of this without a forecast tower. They are just sheer commitment at this stage. Thomas HD continuing to try and prevent players from getting anywhere near that secondary height even, as Cooper forced to just utilize the medkits, playing from the backside of the storm and zone in general, but only a matter of time before he's spotted out as a solo.
Just a complete shakeup with the teams we're seeing alive right now as well. Bryce and Bolts keeping up the momentum from where they left off in game number 6, carrying it straight into game number 7 now. A near top 10 for Bolts here, but he will have to fight someone on the outside of zone. Trulex and Chicho, meanwhile, just running game here on the mid ground. Now looking to jump down to low. They have enough mats to do so, cutting off their opponents here. There's a lot of reaction coming here, though. You have Asia on one side of the wall, OCE on the other, fully boxed in now. They have to be careful. There's no way out. Trulex and Chicho might have signed themselves straight back to the lobby accidentally now. Oh no, having to heal here. Chicho gets caught out. One false mistake, and it will come back to haunt you here.
But
high ground.
Scope, Queasy, Thomas HD. They could tell Phaser for a moment. He got a glimpse, but he won't actually get a taste of what the high ground is like. Queasy now going to be the first to drop. He's continuing. He knows he needs a refresh. He wants more material. If he can find an elimination, if he can play the disturbance factor, he can prevent anyone from having the potential to threaten Thomas HD's current position. Thomas HD, in fact, alongside Queasy, just going to continue to try and secure as many eliminations as possible.
We are witnessing greatness right now as Thomas HD and Queasy are putting on a masterclass from the high ground here. Doing a very good job now, securing eliminations, starting to rack up. Queasy will have to get those mats there, has to jump to the tree. He sends Thomas HB down. The Soren to start cutting off the teams here. Completely new duos in the conversation as well. It's Zagu and King and Phaser now. That's all that's left in a clean 2v2 here.
But the zone pool, Thomas HD and Queasy, they made it to the top of the hill. Phaser is going to try to find his way up. Thomas HD instantly puts him down. Queasy with the cleanup as well, and a victory royale finish.
We expect it, and now they're performing from the interview section all the way in to the first match here of the day. What a way to keep up the momentum. And of course, you know what we're gonna get next. A word here on the floor, given that we want to hear what's happening.
Would you please give it up, your Game 7 winners, Queasy and Thomas HD! Woo! Boys! That is the way to do a Game 7 on day 2 of Global Championships. Queasy, the high ground was king there again. What a way to start the competition today.
I mean, take high, don't die. It's that simple.
I love that. It's a man of few words, but you know what? They mean a lot. they pack a punch. Thomas, today as well, we see the likes of family in the audience, all these fans here as well. Fort Worth, make some noise for these players! I want to talk about how pivotal it was as well. You saw in the elimination feed, I think the 6th zone, we saw Peterbot and Puyo go down. Did you know then you had to capitalize on that?
I mean, Christians said, like, you saw it in the kill feed, so yeah. Like, we just played our game. We didn't think about they were in the game, but it doesn't matter for us.
Now that you've seen the 1.5 multiplier making a massive difference today as well, looking at the points, you've really tightened things up at the top. Do you go at the same way again? I mean, obviously high ground being really important there. How did the mid-game change for you guys that time around?
I mean, we'll see. I can't tell if we're going to play high or not, but if the opportunity is there, we're taking it.
And it seems as well, Queasy, that each time you guys get the high ground, you're the one sent down just to wipe the floor, get those eliminations. Thomas holds the high, and it's working really, really well.
I mean, yeah. What is it to say? Like, we just take high and we win. There's nothing else to do. Like, we just need to perfect our mid game, and if we get into end game with good match, that's it.
We're looking forward to seeing what happens next. Would you please, one more time, Fort Worth, give it up for Queasy and Thomas HD! That is the way to start a day 2 of FNCS Global Championships 2024. Loads more to come. What's going to happen next? We'll find out after this very short break. We'll see you in a few.
Get high, don't die! Get high, don't die! Come on, man. It's too easy. Bro. It's too easy.
Fortnite fam! We got a tournament in our hands, baby!
Hey Lev, take height.
Don't die.
Take height.
Don't die.
Ah, let's go! Game number 1 on the day, 7 overall. Wheezy, Thomas HD find the victory royale, and they repeat exactly what they said yesterday. Take height,
Don't die, Levin. Levin. Listen, Queasy and Thomas. I mean, the high ground, right? It was working yesterday. They were getting a little bit of pressure, in my opinion, from the likes of Vico and Flixie primarily. But Vico and Flixie go down very, very early on this game. Queasy and Thomas maybe noticed that, right? And was like, listen, we're not going to receive any pressure from them, because what we noticed, Levin, was that they invested all of their match, so much so that when it came down to this 2v2, they almost had nothing left.
I mean, you look at who have been the biggest players on height in the first 6 games. Vico, Flixie up there, Peterbot Poyo up there. Both of those guys down and out of this end game. So much space for Queasy and Thomas to play with up on those layers. And it's just really great to see this from them, Vivid, man. This is what I've been wanting to see from them all year. Right, we've always known Queasy to be this dominant high ground IGL. This year, he took a step back from that. When it matters the most, though, relying on what he knows best, playing the high ground.
I just cannot believe, and as well, when we kind of saw, I love the way that Queasy kind of commits to that high ground. We kind of look up, and it's just cones. As far as the eye can see, most players would just kind of do a few floors, maybe 2 wide. He's just like, nope, this is mine, all of it.
To be fair, there's not many players looking up at it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you did, and you just saw 300 metal just committed to high ground, you're not even bothering to go up there.
Vivid, are you seeing this? Do quick math for me, Vivid. This lead is a lot smaller than yesterday. 23 points now separate Peterbot, Poyo, and Queasy and Thomas. The question was, how is anybody going to catch up to them? That 1.5x coming into full effect. A bad game for Peterbot and Poyo. Shambles up on Rift Island, goes down early after trying to land and fight to get back into the game. Queasy and Thomas, they mentioned it in that little bit of an interview right there. They saw it happen in the feed. They played their game to it, and now we've got a tournament on our hands.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Oh, uncharacteristic game from Peterbot and Poyo. They look like they were working with scraps at times, but with Thomas and Queasy, not at all. Still exactly what we saw from them yesterday, where they're looking strong, in good positions to get surge. Thomas in particular, the Monarch pistol again, it is just relentless, the amount of damage this guy is putting in with that.
That's right, and guess what? We actually have a moment from that last game. Let's listen into that game-winning moment.
I'm not gonna be. We should remember their skins. We should remember their skins. Yeah. They're dashing. 30 on them. Okay, we know their skins though. Yeah, Catwoman. I got a kill. Disconnected them on the right. Yeah. They have dashes still. Catwoman on the right. Yeah, I see. Here, drop them. I'm going across. I'm armored wall. I'm armored here. Yeah, okay. Armor yourself as well. Armor. Yeah, I am. I did. We can get. We got chopped out the back. I don't have fizz. 60 or 100 points. Nice. He's coming up. Going up. Yeah, I see. 100. 30. Crack. Dead. Behind you. 1 HP. Dead.
Yeah.
Take height, don't die.
Absolutely amazing stuff there. Just to see them be excited. Levin, I want to double back. You talk about that Monarch pistol in hand. We joked about it at the start of the day. What kind of damage are we actually putting in with this?
Let's take a look at the numbers. Who do you think is going to be leading with the Monarch pistol? Surprise, no surprise at all. Thomas HD by far and away, just crazy with it. Again, if you know anything about Thomas HD and metas of previous years, it would have been the sniper rifle where you would have probably seen him be the leader. He's replaced the
ما لما تتنشف لما انت متنشف ايه كي بينج بونج تخيل ما الميكروفون مدخل النشام خزاك.
That's right. Let's talk about Peterbot and Poyo here for just a moment. Very uncharacteristic out of the duel, right? They obviously had medallions, items in hand, but they kind of go up to Rift Island and they are just in shambles at one point. No materials, no shield.
זה התקשר לי אותה מילון. מי זאת אפרת? אחות של דורי. אחות של דורי? נראה לי או שהיא.
That's literally what I was about to
מה היא שאלה?
רגע, דורי עבר לבית ספר?
to be getting the damage.
כן, נראה לי.
Much higher. Before that, I think we're already seeing some changes in the way people are playing around that area of the map in the mid game, and they're clearly figure things out and fast.
זה את הלובי?
קיצר. איפה 1v1? יש 1v1 במוד זה.
אתה בלובי?
אני עכשיו יוצא. בוקסת 1v1. עד שהמשחק הבא יתחיל.
מה?
עד שהמשחק הבא יתחיל. תקי כתורי אליו.
And again, they just lose too much time. It forces Trulek to use those medkits earlier than they probably would have wanted to, and that leads to the end of their game. A top 6 ain't bad, but that could have easily been another top 3 for them.
No, but it was super, super good for them, right? Because coming into the day, remember, they were one of those top 5 teams, and we saw actually multiple of our top 5 teams go down. Those being Vico and Flixie went down early. Again, obviously Peterbot and Poyo went down early. And the other one was Acorn and Cole that also went down early. And I think me and Levin, we noticed something very, very fast that game. They were uncontested. They were contested for all 6 games yesterday. So that big switch-up could be affecting things largely.
Those ripples making a difference here. Every little thing can change an outcome, but it is that time. Game number 8 is being ready for us. So casters, on over to you. Yeah, it does seem like being uncontested now is starting to work against some of the favorites who are up at the top.
Yeah, and for the teams that are having to essentially switch up their strategies, one thing we were noticing, you pulled up something rather interesting from socials. Swizzy even giving the shout out. I will seriously do my best today. So match number 8, let's see if he's got it.
Game number 8 is here. And there is a lot that we have brewing now here inside the Storm and on the Battle Bus, of course, given that the gap has officially closed. And you saw in the interview just moments ago, Queasy mentioning that, hey, if there's enough space between me and third, we're going to do everything it takes to secure number 1.
And that might be one of the worst things ever if you're Peterbot and Poyo. You almost have to try and block it out, but how much can you really ignore when you see the gap chopped so viciously after a singular match because of that 1.5 times point multiplier? But drawing that conversation back to that little note that Vivid had touched on, teams that were contesting each other, they might have gotten very accustomed to having consistent damage. I think Acorn and Cold specifically, they were so directly in control of Brittle Beachhead, Andelix and Sato. They tried their best, but they realized this is not going to work out. We've got to completely revamp our strategy for day 2, and now it's up to Acorn and Cole to figure out a new game plan on the fly.
Talk about that. Even Huddy and Kovacs now have seemingly demanded their respect from Skrull and Sky, who have given up the Rebels. Roost already moving out. Likely that they had a bad drop here, and these small micro changes will absolutely create domino effects. So what we're looking at, 7th place now, doesn't have as many teams there. We already know Vino and Clix had a little bit of a different situation unfolding at their drop. Peterbot and Poyo had a team move out, right? All of these teams now have to make adjustments.
But Venom moving in quickly towards that launch pad. It's evident with the forecast tower in sight. There's going to be a brawl stemming out of Sandy Steps, but also drawing in the attention of teams surrounding this southern section of the map.
Look at this.
Stored Reels definitely getting active.
Power Alex, Power Worthy continuing to perform very well on the drop. But that mid game, they can tighten things up, possibly leave the Reels faster. They'll be better off. Angles looking good here. All shield bubbles expended, but look at the distance. There is, of course, more players coming in.
Love this snap fly adjustment out of Cooper and Kanata, though. They recognize, hey, we had issues with Surge. What better way than to try and third-party teams that won't be expecting it? Alex and Worthy, they're still trying to chase down Merstash. They find the second elimination. Malabuka and Merstash fall yet again to Oshi, but now. Kanata, Cooper, they're not going to let them relish in the moment for even a second. Kanata immediately breathing down the neck of Alex. He's trying to get a scramble out, but he hasn't had a chance to regenerate anything. He's just hoping that his teammate can try to provide some relief, but Kanata and Cooper, they finally find Alex, and that's going to be the end of one half of the Oshi Power Boys.
And you can see Alex's only concern there was, let me buy time for my teammate to get out. We can still play this game. So Worthy looking to secure as much loot as possible and then rotate out. Meanwhile, seems like EU's Chap and Teeny here are going against NA Pars and Baka. So far, so good for Pars and Baka, who have a defensive hold inside the factory, but Teeny and Chap likely feeling like it's a little dangerous to step in now. They're going to take what they can and move on out, it seems.
Teeny possibly reverting back to his old ways. There's Chap next to him. Seems like they want to look to try and apply some pressure to any teams that might be looking for some easy fishing strats over by the dock next to the ship-it station. Yapko and Swizzy on the other hand, popping up at the raft. They're going to manage to find threats in the process. And this triple contest situation just continues to heat up, but this is a very different Brutal Beachhead vision in comparison to what we've been used to seeing.
Yeah, we got Cow Gamer, Haman here now, up against Andilex and Sato. Nicely done for Haman. Finding Sato with a big elimination here. Now Cow Gamer has to win his ones, going toe-to-toe for the shot there. Andilex extremely weak, but instead causing the backup, and beautifully done as Haman finishes the deal here for Middle East. And they're going to find themselves a wonderful set of eliminations. Now the drop is theirs. No Acorn and Cold. So clearly a rotate must have happened and a lot sooner.
They're not the only ones countering some slight adjustments to loot path and rotation strategies early on. Vico, Blixie next to Booga and Aviv, but at the same time, some damage was clearly applied. Whether that came from Booga and Aviv, didn't necessarily get the chance to see, but Vico and Flixie are now inside of the cemetery, and there's a very high likelihood that they're just looking and waiting for the opportunity to make a play for the weapons bunker nearby.
A little quick highlight here as we walk away. Unfortunately, King and Phaser gonna be some of the duos caught out. An old risky play walking into a building and a team sitting in the attic. What can you do?
It's almost like how we saw Huddy and Kovacs sitting inside of a bush in match 7. I think a lot of these players, again, you don't really want to get messy. You don't want to cut any corners. You've got to make sure that you are checking every angle, proceeding with caution every step of the way. Otherwise, you might just find yourself off guard. Braids completely exposed. Huddy had the overhead view, but didn't manage to connect the shots.
Still like this angle here. Plenty of gas in the tank here for Huddy. As he slides out, Visual and Braids put up a great fight so far. Huddy opening the distance here, still keeping tabs on the opponent, making sure the teammate doesn't find too much of an angle on him. And then you have in the bush, in the distance, in the base, Buzz and Epic Whale just listening ever so closely. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Pollo making up for match number 7 here in match 8. Trying to farm and fish for tags, right? This is their biggest problem in match number 7. Now that they're uncontested, basically didn't get to get those early fights, right? Things have gone a little bit differently for them. It's becoming a lot more difficult.
It's the same for Clix and Vena, though. They've seemingly been surrounded. We knew that there was going to be a lot of foot traffic coming through this area based off the forecast tower spawn, but with Peterbot and Pollo seemingly in full control of that, Clix, Veno, they're now going to have to choose a new method to try and establish some surge tag damage. And again, with Storm closing in on their backs, they could take their time. They could still potentially loop back around, hit the vending machine that they're familiar with, if that's still standing.
Vino looking to see if he can find any tags anywhere. Meanwhile, Chicho and Trulex, they've been putting on a performance worth studying. You have to start to wonder now, what is it about their drop spot, their mid game, their early game that they've been able to do so well that they've continued to make end game and then perform at the highest caliber, now being one of the few teams in the race here for the first place. But they still have to keep it up. They've still been contested, although the team that's there has given them a little bit of room to work with. Meanwhile, a team that has a lot less room, Swizzy and Yapko, right? We all know the Raft has been highly fought after. They have 3 Elans, so they're not making it easy for anyone, but hold up, Clix is in a battle.
It's Crisp on the other side of this box, but Clix, Veno definitely looking a lot more healthy than their counterpart, and sure enough, Veno is gonna close this one out. That's another elimination, 12 points already. Keep in mind, that point multiplier doesn't just come into effect for the placements, but eliminations also being worth 6 apiece. It's a great way to climb. But Veno, Clix, they've got to be careful sneaking up when they least expect it from 2 separate sides. Aspect, Kazi, Damo resigns. This could go from bad to worse in a moment.
Yeah, Clix already hears the shots coming out here, so they're not slick by any means. He does have a couple of splashes here, so being able to get their HP up is not going to be too much of a problem. Meanwhile, Vino looking to alpha up some positioning over Kazi and Aspect here. Trying to see what this team wants to do. Vino clearly doesn't want to stick around for too much longer. It's a lot of risk involved here. He does have a couple of med kits. And I like what he's doing, though. He's inching his way across here, saying if you really want to do this, we're going to do it box to box, mano a mano. And there's the loot that he was trying to secure. Now he has got max mats, and there isn't much more for him to worry about here. However, if they stick around too much longer, I mean, only trouble is waiting for them.
At the same time, they've got to be really careful on how they choose to disembark and rotate out of here, because with so many eyes on, there is a high likelihood they could get tagged up in the process. And it's very nice that Veno was able to secure those max mats, because Clix having to build the entire way as they maneuver out of that location next to Sandy Steps.
Take a look at the highlight here from Chap and Teeny. Strong EU duo, very consistent and for good reason. They take down FKS and Adapter there in a head-to-head engagement. Adapter still standing, actually, as we jump in live here, even after the save, but unfortunate now as they get fully finished. Trap goes down, the save's gonna come in. More shots from the distance here. It's Vico and Flixie hearing what's happening. Bobby and Larpex inside the base nearby as well. In come Muzz and Epic Whale. They hear the action. They're going to need some surge. So it's a melting pot of regions and competition coming together now.
It's just the way that we're seeing all of these teams essentially conglomerate on top of each other. We didn't get a whole lot of this in day 1, but the adjustments that everyone is trying to adapt to last second year, causing so many hiccups for everyone else that teams are encountering across the way. Poyo and Peterbot even working their way through the storm. Got eyes on Yapko and Swizzy. They clearly want the fight, but way off in the distance. Teams a little bit closer to that edge of zone, putting even more pressure still onto Peterbot and Poyo. They are not getting the same clean rotations that they had all day yesterday.
Now, keep in mind, this is a team that has landed on each other, right, coming into the season. So Peterbot and Poyo now forcing to back out because tags are coming in from the distance is definitely not ideal by any means. However, if they found the tags that they need, they won't have the problem they had in match number 7, right? They were so far below the surge. This lobby's starting to cut down pretty quick. So we are just going to have to see what happens when the zone closes here.
Problem though, Peterbot, he's the only one with the medkit. Poyo, he's got to hope that he can find some bandages, a medkit, any form of white heals along the way. But that moment doesn't seem like it's going to come. A lone couple of bananas, and Peterbot knows he's just gonna have to let his duo fall. He'll make the play for the revive after he expends this medkit, but they've still got so much ground to cover, and a team already choosing to close in. Sky, Scroll, they have the immediate collapse. Peterbot Can he get Pollo up?
They've been watching. They saw what happened, and then they saw the name that went down. Peterbot fully armors himself up. Every wall is covered here. They will have to literally break him out and then fight. And he is ready. Rifle in hand, shotgun in the backup kit, ready to go. He tries to go for the wall replace first. Very smart done. However, starting to run out of material. Peterbot is one of the best in the world, and for good reason. You just cannot stop him if he does not want it to be done. Look at how well he's putting up a fight in a 2v1 situation right now.
The fact that he's even delayed Sky and Scroll for this long is phenomenal, as is Peterbot continuing to split them apart. He will not let them challenge him 1 versus 1. Anything else is not going to go their way, but Peterbot, he's still managing to scramble. He's on the escape. He's got the reveal marks as well. He knows exactly how he needs to move. But again, Sky Scroll, they realize we got to reconvene. We got to re-aggress. Peterbot from below. He's on his last little ticks of HP. And I don't think he's going to make it out.
Finds a bandage, has to hit it, but unfortunately will fall now. And that is back-to-back games of trouble on the horizon now for Peterbot and Pollo. And it is just starting to slip away now. If there was ever a moment for the competition to really find their confidence here in day number 2, it is now. What a critical moment that just unfolded in match number 8.
But again, we heard it even in that last interview that Adam just had with Queasy and Thomas HD. They choose to still play the game as if nothing's gone wrong. There's been no spoiler in effect for the first place team because they know their best performance is going to come from 0 distractions.
Crazy to think that if the OCE team didn't rotate in at that time, he would have gotten the bandage off and we would have still seen something potentially unfold. But the reality is now, top 5 is going to shake up.
And at this point, Peterbot and Pollo, they might just have to hit the drawing board themselves because that's 2 for 2 on the start of today. That is just not gone anywhere near the direction that they would have hoped here in day 2. But on a separate note, Thomas HD, Queasy got a nice overview of the rest of the map from their current position, just trying to use some of the natural elevation to base up on. And here at Mount Olympus, a couple of teams nearby, but they've just got so much space boxed out and claimed.
Bryson Bolts with the Rift Island. Chicho and Trulix down low. Still sitting pretty in 3rd place right now, based up under the Rift Island. Not an ideal situation to be in here, given that teams won't rotate because they see the island, let alone get a better angle for Chicho and Trulix. Very unlikely, but they have a duo in sight. It'll be important for them to find a couple tags here. 340 above, they should be okay for the time being. However, that's the damage that we're looking for.
Another little bit of a shock, though, as far as our top 5 is concerned. Spinks and Dukes have also been eliminated. They jumped up a few placements after their match 7 performance. They were sitting inside of top 10, 9th, I believe, to start day 2. So the fact that they've fallen here already just means, again, ample opportunity for some of these other teams to try and leapfrog their way up and over inside of that top threshold of the leaderboard. But Vico, Flixie, first off, they've got to deal with a little bit of pressure from the north side of where they're based. And again, Vico and Flixie, they had some success whenever they were able to find those forecast towers in yesterday's matches, but it's not going to be as easy this time around, and Bryson Bolts are a big part of the reason why.
Bryson Bolts, slow and steady, wins the race, and they have been working their way on up. Just look at those standings right there. Currently in 6th right now. Most of the immediate competition sitting on ice for a second. Another unfortunate run for Cold and Acorn here. And they're a day 2 type of team, so really have to scratch your head and wonder what's happening over there. But Clix and Vino have a lot more to worry about here. Resigns in Demo. Out of the question here, trying to look for the fight. Vino with a monstrous tag, and they just shut down Resigns and Demo, really showing them who's the kings of this one right now. But Chicho and Trulex have also met their match. What is happening over here?
Rift Island just continues to get even more traction surrounding the baseline of it. Teams that are potentially hoping to try and utilize some of the mobility aspects surrounding it, such as the rifts, and in fact, Chicho, Trulex, they're on the go. But remember, Queasy, Thomas HD, they were sitting on a peak near Mount Olympus. There's a very high likelihood that they're going to be looking to take some shots at some of these teams rolling in from the Rift Island.
Aviva and Booga are definitely one of those teams as well. They have a lot of high ground. Back on over to Bolts and Bryce, though. Finding Agers out here on the rotate there. Very, very important tags, given that they are just 40 above the damage threshold. So just a couple moments before that starts to affect everyone here. Big moves coming in, though. Once the zone closed, the damage will start to escalate very, very quickly. The later the game goes, the more storm damage it will do per tick of you sitting inside of it. Bolts and Bryce cannot afford to mess around here. They will luckily pull zone to their side. However, they are under the focus of the rest of the lobby. It's not looking good here.
And not only that, but they're also getting battered by these Storm Surge ticks. They need to connect at least one more shot, but they're losing the time to do so because they're having to heal instead. Valuable seconds. They could maybe catch some of these other teams that are also late on the rotate, but instead they're forced to deplete all of their shields, hoping that they don't get cracked because that audio cue might just be enough for somebody nearby to try and key them as well.
Yeah, having to force heal all of their resources at this point. Beautiful tags there is going to give them a little moment of relief, and that's exactly what has to be done here. So makes you appreciate having someone like Bolts on your team who can actually hit the shots that matter most. That means someone else on the lobby right now is taking that damage. If they're above, someone is definitely below. So these trades are happening in real time right now. Looking at the map, teams are starting to rotate in, now starting to get comfortable below them. If Bolts and Bryce can solidify their foundation, they have one of the stronger positions to actually close this game out now.
Almost makes me believe that they could have potentially gotten their hands onto that forecast tower as well, given that they were willing to commit to a rather central position inside of this last zone. But Queasy, Thomas, off the launch pad, they're going to be some of the first touchdown on the front side of this next zone, and instantly Queasy trying to see if he can re-establish the height control, same level of success that they had in that last lobby. We know that's their game plan, and so does everybody else in this lobby.
I like that, though, too. He's got a lot of distance to work with, that natural elevation as well, not looking to overcommit, given that the zone's going to pull here. And it was the right call. It's going far south. You know, these are the things you can't really account for. When the zone starts to bounce like this, it makes a big difference. And Vico and Flixie with an excellent early rotate right now, taking advantage of everyone's decision to kind of wait this one out and come up and formulate a strategy. Huddy and Kovacs, though, below the surge for the first time on the tournament weekend.
And again, keep in mind, this is a duo that hasn't necessarily been struggling with surge, but they've also thankfully managed to find an elimination in the nick of time here. Kovacs gonna put his duo just above 127 now on that damage threshold, but they still got to make this rotate happen. They're trying to build up. They just expended their last underworld dashes, and now the focus coming back their way as they try to scale this hill face. An armored wall is going to come out, and Kovac just seeing if he can remain undetected.
This is so impressive by Chicho and Trulex. Chicho's going to fall here to the storm with the refresh, which is so unfortunate, but they've managed to really earn their way through this endgame now. Can Trulex get to safety? They're still a long way in front of them. And it's almost bait that there's a zip line there. Don't take that, Trulex. He knows it. He's going to avoid that at all costs here. Going around the sides now. He's safe, but for how long? Top 20 in sight. Meanwhile, on high ground, other teams now starting to set up the zone. Not as brutal this time around. A little bit more of a forgiving rotate here as things are going across. If you have high ground, though, you are set up. And Cammy and Seti are one of those teams looking to be the day 2 comeback.
but they might not even recognize the fact that Flixie, Vico, they've managed to get this wraparound flank coming from a much less congested side of the zone, but still, Seti, Cammy, they are due for a comeback, and they've got to go massive here if they want to try and overcome a lot of those shortcomings that happened in day one. Huddy, Kovacs now getting held at the face of this mountain base. The zone pulls through Mount Olympus just so brutal with all these shifts in the elevation.
Vico, Flixie still alive as well right now. Moving their way up, actually utilizing the zip line for a moment there. A little bit cautious though as he want to get to his teammate here. Who's on this ramp? There he is. Here comes the heals. They see a player below them, but they can't even afford to stick around. Unfortunately, Flixie misses the jump there. He'll just have to be caught up. Vico takes the build, breaks them all through the zip line there, and now he is crushing his way through. Meanwhile, Bryce coming up behind them. Kovacs lands a shot on him. It's not safe at all here inside the top 15.
The zipline trick is not going to work out twice here as Bryce hoping that he can have an opportunity to utilize some of the last bits of that Flowberry Fizz, but again, Cammy, Seti, full control of the high ground, but keep your eyes on Blitz and Benno. They started ramping up. They might actually be close enough to get within striking range, and Thomas HD Queasy, similar mentality.
This has to be the hardest zone to make your rotate across here. Queasy knows it, beautiful tag there, but not enough to stay alive. Thomas HD will make it into the top 10, top 7 now. Vico still standing as well. This is probably the most difficult zone we have ever had at one of these invitationals. At this lane here, it just gets so intense now. But give it a moment here, let things breathe. Vico's found his footing, down goes Thomas, top 5 now. Just moments away here from a potential win for Cammy and Seti now.
But the fact is, Vico is clutching up some very needed points as far as overcoming the top 3 inside the leaderboard. He's got the last little bits of his Flowberry Fizz to work with. Now he just needs to unleash. We know what kind of solo clutch potential he has in store. If he can find another elimination or two, that could be the difference. But Click, they're dead. Gonna bring that one home.
Comes out of nowhere with a huge shot in the top 3 to put him right back into things here. It's Pixie, who's still alive alongside Giannis. It's a 2v2. They have enough health and just enough material to make this one very interesting. Armored walls now starting to come out. Cammy doing the same here to try to conserve some material. Seti's got a lot to work with, but so many armored walls are gonna buy them time, buy them room, right? There's still the clock running here. Nice counterfire now coming up to the high ground. Giannis is exceptionally well in these situations, but it's not looking good. Cammy and Seti are just chopping away now.
Seti even opting for the drop down, but it might not even be necessary. The Polish Pantheon looking to try and take over here. Pixie, Giannis scrambling around the low ground, but Pixie falls. Only one remains. Seti's gonna look to find it.
Nice.
Seti takes it with the victory royale.
7 eliminations for Cammy and Seti. Seriousness on their face, given that they know there is a long tournament in front of them. Match number 8 is gonna close out. And it's incredible to think that this is a team that is always so prepared, right? So it's a new day.
Would you please give it up? Your game 8 winners is Cammy and Seti! Should I hop up for me there, fellas? I'll come down, I'll come down, I'll come down. What a day, what a start to the day. Second game, a victory royale. You guys have been in this position before. Walk us through the end game there. It seemed that the high ground once again reigned supreme.
Yeah, I mean, we were at that side, so we just took the high ground because it was very free. And I think this is the first game that we really had Surge. And yeah, we're just gonna try to do our best to have Surge in other games and then try to win more.
Well, you guys as well, you've been in this position before, our 2022 Invitational winners. What kind of experience does that, guys, give you in moments like this, having been through the likes of that?
I don't even know, we just played high and we won, like, I don't know. We just need to focus on the next games, maybe we win some more, and yeah, we will see.
You seem very locked in as well here. As we can see, the 1.5 multiplier really changing things up on the leaderboard. A few more games like that, and who knows, you could be lifting the trophy again, Seti. Who knows? For you guys, how do you push through now? What do you do next?
I think we just have to stay calm, get Surge, and try to win more games. That's it.
And lastly, I want to say, it's a big day as well for Seti here, folks. It's someone's birthday today, okay? On a count of 3, can we all say happy birthday? 1, 2, 3! There you go. Whatever happens, thousands of people chanting your name. One more time, give it up for Cammy and Seti! Happy birthday, buddy. And on that note, game 8, as you can see, things are really changing on the leaderboard now. What will happen next? We're going to find out once again. A short break from us. Do not go anywhere. Don't be silly. There's loads more global championships coming your way right after this.
Hello and welcome back to the FNCS game number 2 on the day. 8 overall. Seti, Cammy find themselves the victory royale as well. Fortnite fan, please give a big welcome Kelly Link and Mini Miner as they join us here to break down this game. I cannot believe how insane this game went for the duo.
I mean, when we saw kind of the new season, we thought, wow, low mobility. This really seems like this could be Cammy and Seti's season, especially when we had the lackluster performance from Major 3. And then day 1, it was a bit of a disappointment, but they are here to show up now from the high ground, taking absolutely crazy shots onto some of the biggest names on the low.
Yeah, and it's something that we spoke about on the desk yesterday. This team have the potential to take high. I think if you're a traditional Fortnite viewer, maybe you haven't watched for the last few years, you might think, oh, this is a sort of low ground consistent duo, right? That never play high. No, that's not the case. These guys have learned how to play high these last few years, and of course they can pull it out when they need it. The zone really worked in their favor for them this game. We saw them setting up. Of course, it went all the way back over the Mount Olympus mountain. We saw Queasy and Thomas as well on the front side trying to set up for height, but with the way that zone pulled back, there was only one team that could take height.
I love there after that when they just sat back down, just leaned back in the chair. That's right, everybody. We're going to take that in. You watched it right. We got ourselves a victory royale. I love as well him just calling out, you know, hey, we got dead side. We had our surge in check. A lot of these duos are still having those issues, right? Trying to manage Storm Surge.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, taking advantage of kind of that early high ground where they were able to kind of get those tags that they need from around the lobby, and then using it, seeing where the zone is pulling on that Mount Olympus south side mountain, where obviously if you get the high ground, you pretty much control the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, 100%. And what's most surprising to me about this is actually their first win of the entire chapter. So it's like, how have Cami and Seti not managed to get wins? It hasn't been their most amazing chapter overall, but this is going to give them that huge boost of confidence, because I was looking on the leaderboards going into this game, they were quite low down there. I think it was like sort of top 40 area. So this is going to boost them up in the standings. It's going to boost their confidence as well. And I hope to see more from this duo like that.
Also, what better birthday gift than to get a victory royale?
Not bad.
On the global stage. Why not? Happy birthday to you, Seti. We got to talk about a couple things here, like Peterbot and Poyo. Now 2 games that they've had a really difficult start, which is, again, it just feels so uncharacteristic, especially after yesterday.
You know, many at the top of the show asked me, Kelly, what do you want to see today? And I said, you know, I want it to be a close game when we get to game 12. But I don't know if I necessarily meant this. I don't know if I meant our top team to go down twice without any points except for a few elimination points. And honestly, I'm wondering if it's just due to these rotations that they were dealing with, the over-aggression that we see from Peterbot and Poyo a lot. Also, getting kind of third-party time and time again has just been such a struggle for them.
Yeah, they're struggling with their heals, I think. They're getting into a lot of these fights, not necessarily finishing them off, getting to use their own heals or having to use their own heals. And we saw it right there. Poyo went down first, and it was actually Sky that got the knock credit for that. So he was actually dipping off. Sky and Score was saying, right, let's go into the storm. But then they saw that little knocked Poyo on their screen. They thought, right, you know what? This is going to be a 2v1 against Peterbot. We then get the best medallion in the game. We get the best weapon in the game. It's worth a fight there. But of course, they didn't quite close out the fight in the end.
Speaking of uncharacteristic, using the armored walls to box up, probably potentially to revive Poyo, but unfortunately knocking Poyo out of the box instead. And I mean, I'm just guessing it's nerves. Obviously going down game 1 was a bit of a upset for them, and maybe those nerves they need to shake off for game 3.
That's right, that's right. I actually want to take it back to this boxing up of a moment, right? We actually have a listen from that exchange. Let's see how this went.
I'm just getting the most unlucky loot of all time. We might need the bunker, bro. 79 alive.
We could actually, the whites to go back up.
If we don't get whites, we're dead, by the way. No heals. No whites. Get any? You get any?
No. We go campfire.
No, we need to go now.
Yeah.
We still need more whites.
We're gonna go northeast and like to the
pad
that you hit.
I need to pop my own shit.
Yeah, pop my pit.
Wait, he just killed you.
There's bandages under, man. Like, 6 armor HP out.
Right?
Get the armor, Yo, I'm on the other wall. I'm on the other wall.
Man.
You can get it out.
I'm dead, bro.
Definitely a difficult situation for the duo. I mean, did you see how many different opportunities there was for any heal available at all and did not receive a single one? Sometimes it just goes that way, you know. That is a little bit of that RNG factor we're kind of used to seeing.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Unfortunately, there is just an element of RNG when it comes to Fortnite, and that does mean what you're going to get out of those chests, what you're going to find as floor loot, and unfortunately finding barely any white heals going as far as into the storm to get that bunker. But now, seeing where they are on the leaderboard, Peterbot and Poyo dropping down to second place, meaning that Thomas, HD, and Queasy are in first place.
Yeah, they are. I mean, what a turn of events right here. That's the first time this entire chapter that Peterbot and Poyo have placed outside of the top 25 in back-to-back games. And who's taking advantage of that? It's Thomas, HD, and Queasy. They would have seen Peterbot and Poyo going down in the feed, and you can see the way that they play this endgame. They weren't necessarily taking too many risks. You saw Thomas, HD playing out those med kits towards the end. We saw them sort of poised for height as well just before that sort of 9 stone started to pull, and unfortunately it didn't quite work out for them. They were in the prime position for it, and of course, as we know, Cami and Seti ended up coming out on top there, but it was this moment right here, Thomas just squeezing out as many placements as possible, 6th place in the end. It's not an amazing game, it's not a first place like we saw in the game number 1, but it's a very, very good game to overtake that first place spot.
And honestly, with the lack of materials that they had at the end game there, they played it perfectly. They stayed to the low, they stayed back so that everyone that was staying in the front of zone where all that chaos is in the low and middle ground would not be affecting them. But of course, when you get down to just 6 teams, eyes are everywhere and you will eventually be caught out. But still, with what they were given in that game, Queasy and Thomas played that so well.
That's right, and for them, you know, it was looking good for Queasy and Thomas, right? There was just one problem. You look up and you're like, we got high right. You look up, oh, steady Cammy. Nice. Wow, with that being said, though, we are prepared for more action here from the FNCS Global Championship. Game 9 is here and ready, so casters, take it away. Yeah, you know, this is the dream for us as talent, watching this all play out and things starting to get close as we get to the final moments.
Look, everybody from a spectator point of view wants to see some close finishes, but Peterbot and Pollo, I kind of want to see them bounce back because we heard it from Peterbot on the call, just the most unlucky loot of his life. But let's see what Match 9 might have in store. Just like that, we are back. Technically, MDF approaching the halfway point on today. And with that in mind, this is where the pressure is really gonna start to surmount onto so many of these players. Queasy and Thomas, they have made it to the top of the leaderboard, but now it's all about maintaining that position.
Yeah, the truth is that it's only gonna get more and more difficult from here on out. You start to see the reality of the situation, and that's you actually have a chance now to take it all away. Every moment is going to come with that little bit of hesitation, right? That second opinion inside the back of your mind of whether or not it is the right move. But you have to continue to follow your instincts, follow your gut here. Worthy and Alex right now doing what they've done since yesterday, carrying in the momentum here. They've continued to win the drop. They're on 4 wins of the drop consecutively, and it seems like things changed after they started getting loot first.
And what's also really turned things around for them is, like you just said, they kind of led off day 1 with a couple of wins here at Restored Reels. Granted, one of those maybe a little bit more in favor for them to start with. Mustache Malabuka encountering some difficulties of their own along the way, but that being said, Malabuka, Mustache, the ball's in their court to try and bring this one back to life for them, because the reality of the situation is they have not been able to build any points for 2 matches already today.
And Malabuka and Mustache, clearly amazing players, right, in front of the European region that we know and love. But let's jump in with Huddy and Kovacs, talk about EU juggernauts right now on the move up against Atlantic, Skrull, and Sky. Skrull and Sky rotated very early in match 8. Come match 9, though, they're looking to stick around and see this fight all the way through to the end, most likely. Kovacs and Huddy have a lot to lose here. They are in 5th place. Sky and Skrull have a lot to gain as they can fight their way up to the top 5 potentially with one good game, given the multiplier.
Sky and Skrull, they're definitely familiar with these early contest fights off spawn, but couldn't help but notice what looked to be either King or Phaser kind of lurking just a ways further north from Rebel's Roost in the distance. So some possibilities of a third party to take place. It all depends on just how noisy this exchange actually manages to get. And in fact, it is King lurking nearby, potentially hoping for a moment to just stroll through, clean up some easy eliminations, get those points online, because we've already seen King and Phaser make a deep run into the end game in match 7, and they're definitely hoping to try and replicate some of that.
Also looking to just scrap this building out for what they can here in case the fight does come down to the basement. Sky and Skrull doing the same as well. Luckily enough, they're on the back side of the building, so Phaser and King don't quite have lights and eyes on them just yet. But I'm assuming the attention's gonna come in shortly. Give it a moment. Kovacs and Huddy catch a foot there. They know where one player is.
And look, we're familiar with these battles, these early exchanges, but everything that I've noticed so far here today, MDF, is that it's very evident so many of our competitors are just freestyling every single part of their strategy here today. No one is on the same loop paths, the same rotations that they were making all throughout the course of yesterday, and that has made it incredibly difficult for some of these teams that I think just got a little comfortable with what to expect, now having to completely switch things up on the fly.
Yeah, even this battle is going to hit the brakes for a moment, but here we get a little update with Clix and Vino in the early game. What's happening here is that they're just trying to get situated for the first time in what feels like the entire tournament. Sandy Steps is in the zone. That's going to change the dynamic quite a bit, actually, given that they won't be sitting in the storm potentially fighting other players, and other teams won't be just rotating in, expecting them to be there.
And again, Clix and Veno definitely like to
Tempo.
play the vending machine that's nearby.
I'm gonna chop
Those early storm ticks without having to necessarily worry about it because they'll have that ample amount of white heals. But Scroll, Sky, currently recognizing that there's more than just one other team nearby.
Allo, איפה שחר?
אני מושג. מה הוא יצא?
יצא, מתניחים.
ש... נראה, אני גם הולך.
מה, למה?
אני צריך לעשות שיעורי בית במתמטיקה.
זה ילד קטן עכשיו.
לקח. אחי, אני מרגיש כל כך נון שאני אשכרה עושה שיעורי בית.
לא, אני אקרום לך לא להרגיש נון.
טוב, אני יוצא.
נו, ניגע.
בסדר, נשאר עוד חצי שעה.
יאללה, תודה.
Further north, so sliding in, cleaning up house. Seems like
Peterbot and Pollo definitely looking a little bit more set up this time around, but Peterbot gonna find himself momentarily chopped, and Pollo, the only contention for this duo currently is securing this broadcast tower, and with nobody else inside, this game, but now to make sure that they can actually transition this into a solid late game run, because they've been cut short 2 times here today already, and again, no one looking to make it easy for this team.
talk about Michael and Job. We're making that rotate out. Seems like an equally as dangerous duo's got sights on him. Vico and Flixie now making a move here, pushing into the wall, grabs the first one, takes the second. He's fast, he's quick. The reaction is so good for Flixie. And now up from top. Coming in to see if he can end this. Cuts him off, the double and the triple.
אחי, יש איזה תריקון הזה בפונה.
וואלה, אני חם, שים.
Michael here as he finds 2 tags, so he is effectively putting up a very good defense, but I just have to, I was going to say, give all respects here, of course, to the EU duo and back up.
That just seemed like such a stubborn battle there for Job, though. I mean, he could have looked to try and throw up another wall, maybe try and buy himself a little bit more time. Potentially may have just run out of materials that have to Michael down to 1 goal. So this duo definitely looking to be a little bit of shambles here, and Flixie, Vico know that they've got an extra 6 points waiting for them.